You know, these are these things where, first of all, I was in a situation, we do what we call the dog and pony.
Right.
We're out doing the dog and pony selling a picture, and you get kind of, sometimes you get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda, and that's sort of, I think, that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day. The last thing I like to watch is entertainers or actors get political. It's just something I can't stand watching. So having said that, no, I was kind of asked to put it in context somehow with this movie. You know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's fantasyland. And that's where that stuff belongs. In reality, when we're dealing with things like terrorism and whatnot, we're all going to have different opinions on how to do it, how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason founding fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War.
Hollywood loves to live in a fantasy land, but Kurt Russell, he's here to shatter that illusion. Behind the scenes, where fantasy is king, Russell isn't afraid to expose the industry's woke agenda for what it really is, a disconnect from real life that's leaving audiences disillusioned. This isn't just about movies, it's a battle for honesty, freedom, and a culture clash that's putting Hollywood's future on the line. While others play it safe, Russell's taking on Hollywood's dangerous habit of simplifying real-world issues for the sake of the right message. For Kurt Russell, Hollywood's Fantasyland has become more than just a place of storytelling. It's a world where people believe that unrealistic ideas will magically solve complex issues. He doesn't shy away from calling out what he sees as a dangerously detached mindset, especially when it comes to topics like gun control and personal freedom. Russell thinks Hollywood's focus on trends over truth is hurting not only its credibility, but its audience connection. Hollywood was once where people came for escape, not instruction, and he believes the industry has crossed a line. Russell argues that while Hollywood was once a place of creativity and connection, it's now more focused on pushing a woke narrative, forgetting the complexities of real-world problems. According to him, these big ideas are not grounded in practical solutions. They're the product of Hollywood's fantasy-driven environment. To Russell, art is about presenting truth even if it's complicated, and he feels that this truth is being sacrificed for the sake of pushing certain ideologies. He sees Hollywood's current path as one that may alienate audiences who value authenticity over agendas. One of the topics Kurt Russell is most passionate about is gun control, which he says Hollywood oversimplifies.
You know, these are these things where, first of all, I was in a situation, we do what we call the dog and pony.
Right.
We're out doing the dog and pony selling a picture, and you get kind of, sometimes you get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda, and that's sort of, I think, that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day. The last thing I like to watch is entertainers or actors get political. It's just something I can't stand watching. So having said that, no, I was kind of asked to put it in context somehow with this movie. You know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's fantasyland. And that's where that stuff belongs. In reality, when we're dealing with things like terrorism and whatnot, we're all going to have different opinions on how to do it, how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason founding fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War.
In Russell's view, Hollywood's portrayal of gun issues doesn't align with the realities most Americans face. He believes that many in the industry ignore the reality that determined criminals won't follow gun laws.
If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life, their way, their style of living. So I agree with that. I think that's an important part of our existence, and it's basically that simple.
I think that people more object to the excesses of the Second Amendment, not the Second Amendment. It's these
Well, and that's where the debate comes in.
That's what,
I think it's too bad that the debate can't remain kind of civil too, and that's hard to do. It's one of those things that it's like I talked about, sometimes talking about terrorism. Whatever we do, We all have our opinion on that too. Whatever we do, we're a little late for the people who've died. And if you know somebody, or you know a child that was maimed in that situation, I got a strong feeling that one's opinion has a tendency to change that.
Yeah.
So I just leave it open for interpretation by all different people and just say we're all in this together. And yeah, we're going to hear each other talk about it.
Is that the last time you're going to talk politics as an actor?
Until I'm asked to later, I'll be asked in an hour and a half about it. You know, once they trot that pony out there, I go let it go.
But you know what?
And instead, they push for restrictions on responsible citizens. For him, the issue of self-defense is fundamental. The right to protect oneself and one's family is, in Russell's eyes, not just a right, but a duty, one that Hollywood tends to overlook or misunderstand. Russell sees the Second Amendment as a guarantee, a way for people to protect themselves not only from crime, but also as a check on government power. He views it as a foundational principle, deeply tied to American identity, yet Hollywood often portrays it as something outdated or reckless. For him, gun ownership isn't about promoting violence, it's about preserving the right to defend oneself and one's family. In his view, Hollywood's focus on stricter gun control ignores the complexity of this issue and dismisses the freedoms the amendment represents. Russell feels that stripping away this right is not just impractical, but could lead to unintended consequences. Russell expands on his views with a concept he calls mutually assured destruction, the idea that the ability to defend oneself actually deters crime. For him, knowing that responsible citizens can own and use firearms keeps crime in check and makes communities safer. He argues that restricting gun rights leaves law-abiding people defenseless, while emboldening those who would misuse them. He believes that if criminals know that their potential victims are unarmed, they'll be more likely to take advantage of that vulnerability. Hollywood's focus on gun control, he says, ignores this basic principle. In a world where Hollywood often views gun ownership as inherently dangerous, Russell's perspective stands in stark contrast. He sees gun rights as a way to balance the scales, a tool for the average person to protect themselves in an uncertain world. For him, Hollywood's approach lacks nuance, reducing complex rights and safety concerns to a black and white issue. He believes that the industry could benefit from presenting a broader perspective rather than assuming that one solution fits everyone. Russell's critique doesn't stop at gun control. He has strong views on Hollywood's approach to inclusivity, especially when it comes to marriage rights. He finds it ironic that Hollywood, which claims to champion equality, ends up creating new inequalities through selective privileges. For Russell, real equality means treating everyone the same, regardless of lifestyle or relationship status. He doesn't see the point in granting special privileges to specific groups based on personal choices. To him, it's about personal freedom, where people can live as they choose without needing specific rights to define them. He's never been one to conform, and his stance on marriage equality reflects his libertarian approach to life. People should be free to live as they choose without needing special rights or privileges. To Russell, Hollywood's brand of inclusivity misses the point, creating special categories rather than focusing on equal treatment for all. He argues that real equality doesn't need labels or preferential treatment. It needs fairness, applied equally across the board. Hollywood's tendency to create new distinctions, he believes, divides people rather than bringing them together. Russell feels the weight of Hollywood's pressure on actors to conform to woke values, and he's seen firsthand how it affects those who dare to think differently. In Hollywood, he says, actors are often pushed to express certain views publicly, even if those views conflict with their personal beliefs. To him, this creates a culture where many are forced to pretend, suppressing genuine thoughts for the sake of career security. This conformity, he believes, stifles creativity, making actors hesitant to explore ideas outside the accepted norm. This forced conformity in Russell's eyes is damaging to creativity and personal integrity. He believes that real art comes from freedom, not from actors who feel pressured to hold views they don't believe in. For Russell, Hollywood's brand of wokeness threatens the industry's foundation by valuing a specific agenda over individual expression. He worries that this shift not only affects individual actors, but the very nature of the stories being told. He feels that art suffers when it's confined within boundaries set by popular opinion rather than genuine expression. Russell's views on individual freedoms aren't just political, they're deeply personal. Known for his libertarian mindset, he sees Hollywood's woke agenda as an attempt to control, not empower, people. Russell argues that personal freedom is key to a meaningful life, and that Hollywood's push to impose its values on everyone disregards the importance of personal choice. He believes that each person has the right to decide how they live their life without interference from a so-called enlightened majority. He makes it clear that for him, freedom is more than a political idea. It's a guiding principle that should allow people to live authentically. This belief in individual liberty shapes how he approaches not only his career, but also his everyday life. For Russell, freedom means allowing people to think and act independently, even if it doesn't align with Hollywood's popular stance. He sees this as essential to both personal fulfillment and social harmony. Russell's disapproval of Hollywood's woke agenda has reportedly put him at odds with major studios, like Disney. Rumor has it that he cut ties with Disney over what he saw as a compromise in storytelling. He believes that Disney's shift toward political correctness has stifled its creative legacy, replacing timeless stories with content that fits a specific ideology. Russell fears that Hollywood's embrace of political correctness is shifting the focus from storytelling to moralizing, alienating audiences who come for entertainment, not lectures. He doesn't hold back, calling out Disney for prioritizing an agenda over its reputation for storytelling. For Russell, this shift is a loss for everyone: audiences, actors, and the culture of Hollywood itself. It's a move that he believes could lead to the industry's cultural decline. When timeless stories are replaced by narratives shaped to fit political correctness, he argues, the magic of storytelling is lost. For him, Disney's path represents a cautionary tale for the entire industry. Despite facing backlash from fans and peers, Russell has stood firm in his beliefs. He's gained respect from those who appreciate his commitment to common sense and his refusal to be swayed by Hollywood's trends. Russell doesn't bend to the pressures of public opinion or Hollywood's demand for conformity, and this resilience has only strengthened his standing among fans who share his values. He is viewed as someone who is unapologetically himself, a rarity in an industry driven by public perception. He doesn't see himself as a hero, just as someone who refuses to compromise his beliefs for the sake of popularity. In an industry that seems increasingly detached from reality, Russell's grounded perspective is refreshing for audiences who feel disconnected from Hollywood's messages. He stands as an example of what it means to prioritize authenticity over approval, a voice for those who feel overlooked by the industry. Kurt Russell isn't here to please Hollywood. His bold stance against the industry's shift toward woke culture is his way of standing up for what he believes in. He's challenging Hollywood to return to its roots, to focus on creativity, freedom, and honest storytelling rather than enforcing a strict set of beliefs. In Russell's view, Hollywood's path isn't sustainable. He sees the industry's obsession with woke culture as a threat to its relevance, a trend that could ultimately alienate audiences. And while he may be one of the few openly questioning it, Russell is certain he's on the right side of this fight. So do you agree with Kurt Russell's take on Hollywood's woke culture? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more from Hollywood's boldest voices willing to speak out.